Hey guys, Stay Patient here with the 7th deal of Christmas. Now I apologise that this video wasn't put up yesterday. The deal has been up since yesterday, so it's going to be off tomorrow. So make sure if you do want to buy Titanfall 2 for $24.99, go ahead and do so today. You've only got sort of around 24 hours to grab the deal before it disappears. I didn't put it up yesterday just because I was too busy, but I wanted to make sure to, cover all of these games as they're added to the store. And I know one or two of you have mentioned that you're hoping Titanfall 2 would show up because it's the one game that you haven't yet bought. And $24.99 isn't a bad price, but I think the reason they've got it at, a better price than some of the other deals is because they know that the game is going to start dropping down retail. The retail price is going to start dropping fairly soon. Now, this is a similar situation to pretty much all the other games we've discussed on these 12 deals so far. The prices do tend to rocket up at the retail outlets just before Christmas. We've only got just over a week, like a week and a half left until Christmas, so they can afford to charge whatever they want, really. And of course, they're still competing for prices because they want to make sure people shop with them rather than other outlets. But at the same time, people are more concerned about making sure they get their shopping done. And quite often they'll just go to, their usual go-to outlets. They'll have places that they generally shop at and they'll just go there. They won't necessarily shop around. So at this time of year, most people can pretty much charge what they want. So it's quite expensive at the moment if you want to buy Titanfall 2 on disc. Most places are more expensive than they have been, a couple of weeks back when we had Black Friday and everything like that. So we are going to look at the two best prices I came across. In fact, there's one place I haven't checked yet, which is eBay. And I haven't checked Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's are always quite hard to, find their stuff on the online store. But it might be worth, if you do live near a Sainsbury's, then of course you could always check their prices. But let's just take a quick look here. When I'm on eBay, this actually gives me a good opportunity to show you guys what I do when I'm shopping for games. Obviously, if you're looking for a new game only, then you can choose new only. But quite often people will put their games as new even though they're not, and you get all this crap that you don't want, all these keys and everything. So I always do buy it now, and you can set up... you can choose the platform. We're already on video games here. Here we go. Choose the platform. Sony, PS4. And we're still going to get all this nonsense that isn't related to what we want. But the games start here. Okay, so Titanfall 2 with pre-order bonus, brand new, £28. That's the cheapest price because we put it in order of lowest price. So, eBay isn't cheaper. But we do have a couple of okay prices at, this is simplygames.com. This is a site I've spoken about a few times. They're excellent with delivery times. And if you're pre-ordering games, they're nearly always the cheapest for pre-orders. And they get the games to you really early. At the latest, they'll be with you on release day, but quite often you'll get them several days before the game's actually officially launched. So they're really good to use. Obviously, that doesn't affect you buying Titanfall 2, which is already out. But $29.85. And another site that I've not used myself, but that I've seen has got sort of good reviews on Trustpilot and websites like that, is the gamecollection.net. So these guys have got it on sale for $29.95. So pretty much the same price. And both of these prices are, of course, more expensive than the PlayStation Store, which is £25. So you're saving £5 off the next cheapest price from what I can tell. But the one warning I would give you guys is that although it's nice to have this game, digitally, because you can play with a friend, you can download the game to two consoles and play alongside someone else because it's obviously heavily online based. There aren't many online trophies, so if you're just buying it for the trophies, then you won't be playing the online much at all anyway. But the one thing to remember is that this game hasn't sold very well. Titanfall 2 was a bit of a commercial flop. Obviously, it sold fairly well. It's not completely bombed, but at the same time, they made a mistake releasing it so close to Battlefield 1, which is a more kind of known quantity, and both of them reviewed extremely well. And they are both great games, but people know Battlefield. And the fact that Battlefield has rebranded itself and gone back to the World War I period kind of got people more excited in it again. And they've sort of overlooked Titanfall because everyone's gravitated towards Battlefield. So because of that, it's not sold that great. And that means I'm going to kind of predict it's going to start dropping down in price, quite considerably fairly soon, because that's usually what happens. If a game, especially an online-based game that requires a lot of people playing it online for it to be successful, they don't want the people who have bought the game abandoning it because it's not active enough. So, although it's not in danger of becoming an inactive game anytime soon, they do want to make sure to kind of try and grow the online feature so that it keeps going for as long as possible. So obviously, if a year goes by and no one's playing it anymore, then people will stop buying the game. So they need to make sure that it's popular now. And the only way of really doing that is by dropping down the price and drawing in more people. So I'm predicting that this is going to really drop down a lot quicker than some of the other games, and by a larger amount as well. I can see this selling for under £20 very soon. And that will be on retail, of course, not on the store. The store always tends to overprice things apart from this time of year. So it's really up to you. If you want this for Christmas, or if you want this to play with a friend and you want to be able to download it to 2 consoles, this is a good price considering it's digital, and digital prices are usually much higher. But if you just want the game and you're not really fussed about when you get it and you'd rather get it on disc, then I would wait. I mean, you can get it for £30 now, which seems like a good price because it's a very recent game, really. But at the same time, lots of games of this caliber do drop down in price very quickly if they need to draw in new players and it's not selling as well as they expected it to. So there you go, guys. That's my 2 cents on that. Trophy wise, one of the things I haven't been covering in these videos is the trophies. Obviously, most of these games are games we've spoken about in other videos, but for those of you who haven't seen all my content, obviously you want to hear about what the trophies for Titanfall 2 are like. It's a game that is pretty much super straightforward, apart from 1 or maybe 2 trophies. Now, the one that is notoriously difficult, which a lot of people really struggle with, and I can vouch for that because it's one of my most requested trophies ever on the trophy service, becomes the Master, which most of you will have heard of, even if you've not played the game. It's a trophy that requires you to beat a certain time in the sort of trial. It's called the Gauntlet near the beginning. It's like a tutorial section that shows you how to use wall running and double jumping and all that kind of stuff. And you need to beat a time that is quite difficult to beat. I find it quite simple now, but that's only because I've done it dozens of times across lots of different accounts. So it's a bit kind of misleading of me to say, oh, it's easier than it looks, because I guess it's not. It took me a while to get it, and when I did get it, it kind of clicked, and I was able to do it pretty much first time every time. But for you guys, obviously, you're only going to want to do it once, so you will be putting in quite a bit of time to get the practice required for it. Bear in mind that if you're worried about your completion percentage, don't avoid this game because of that 1 trophy, because if you're willing to sort of buy trophies, it is one that I offer for a reasonable price. And especially for you subscribers of mine, I will offer you a discount if you do need to get that trophy done. And you don't need to feel bad about that, because I've literally had dozens and dozens of people pay me to earn this trophy for them. The other trophy that some may struggle with, I found really quite simple, is completing the game on the highest difficulty. Now, master difficulty is, some people are going to struggle with it. I think you'll get through it, but there are sort of techniques you can use to get through the game. Basically, the checkpoints are very regular. So you can pretty much run through certain sections, and because you've got a cloak and you've got the ability to wall run, there are some sections which can potentially take you a long time to get through because there's enemies everywhere. But if you use your cloak wisely and try and keep moving, because it's a very mobile game, all about sort of maneuverability and speed, they have made it, it's really well made in the sense that if you do keep moving, as long as there aren't loads of enemies all with their sights on you, then you can kind of avoid fire by being fast enough. Of course, the closer you get to enemies, the easier it is for them to hit you. But there's one section near the beginning of the game that springs to mind. It's a big open area, and there's like cliffs along one side, there's buildings in the middle, and when I first played the game, on master difficulty, I went in and I was taking cover and I was popping off one enemy at a time. And then the next time I played it through on master for one of my customers, I thought, I'm going to try something. And I went all the way around the outside, took it nice and wide, and then started wall running around the edge, you know, where there was gaps that I would fall down and things like that. I was wall running, and I got quite a long way before anyone saw me. Then as soon as they saw me, I popped my cloak. So as soon as I started receiving fire, I popped my cloak, which only lasts for a few seconds, but it does give you time to, because you're fast, you know, you're a fast moving character, it does give you time to make some progress and maybe get to a checkpoint. And I was able to bypass an entire section with probably 20 enemies in, just within a few seconds. I just blitzed through it all. And that's how you can approach lots of the, you know, sections in the game. Some of the sections do require you to take cover and things like that, especially when you're in your Titan, which isn't as mobile as you are when you're on foot. And some of the Titan fights, you know, there's a layer of difficulty or trickiness to them, but nothing compared to a lot of other top level difficulties on other games. It's a cakewalk, it really is. And especially with the cloak, there are some sections where you know, there are too many enemies for you to just be able to run through. So you can just pop your cloak, move from cover to cover, and when your cloak runs out, make sure you're in cover and no one can see you. And then just keep pressing forward, and no one can even know you're there because you're invisible. So you can trigger a checkpoint, and then if you die, it doesn't matter, you can kind of do the same thing. And the great thing actually is that when you die, it doesn't matter whether your cloak was triggered or whether it was on cooldown or what, it will always be available when you reload or when you sort of respawn at the checkpoint. So even if your cloak was turned on when you died, or when you triggered the checkpoint, sorry, when you respawn, the cloak will still be active because it was active when the checkpoint was triggered, but it will also be ready to use again. So quite often just rushing through and getting to the next checkpoint is a great plan, because you know, you will have plenty of cloak available when you respawn, and you can kind of push forward and get out of the area. So it's really not that bad, guys. Becoming the Master does take practice, but you know, hopefully you guys will be able to manage it with my with the use of my guides. I have got 2 guides for Becomes the Master on my channel. Part 1 is like the simplest route that will be fast enough to earn the trophy if you execute it correctly. And then the second one adds in a few extra jumps and makes things very slightly more complex, but still pretty simple to pull off. In fact, it doesn't really make that much difference. It's just, you know, some adjustments you can make to the route from the first video that will shave off maybe a second or 2. And that might be the last little bit of time that you need to shave off to be able to earn the trophy. Anyway, go check that out, guys, if you do buy the game. If you do enjoy it, it's a lot of fun, really good, and I think it deserves more praise, or at least more sales than it got. But like I say, if you're waiting for a disc copy, a hard copy, then I would give it some time, because this is definitely going to drop down in price. They need to sell some copies, and it's not doing very well at the moment, so dropping the price is the only way they're going to do that. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep your eye out for the rest of my content this week. Cheers, guys. Have a good one. I'll catch you later.